If you're having trouble keeping your grocery budget in line, it might be time to think about ways to cut the cost of every single meal of the day.
Hi, if you don't know us, I'm Larry.
I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where every week we bring you videos on practical frugality.
Cutting grocery cost is one of the main questions that we get every single week on this channel. We ourselves feed our family of 4 for under $250 a month. And that in and of itself has generated some questions about how we do that. Well, in this video, we're going to show you some of the really creative ways that we have sort of re-envisioned each meal of the day and figured out how to make low-cost ingredients go a really long way. This video is going to be kind of heavy in explaining to you what we do, and then I'll show you a lot of photos of the finished dishes. For that reason, I wanted to make sure that I created an accompanying post on the website that will show you some of the same photos, and when possible, I supplied links to the recipes that I'm showing you. So make sure that you look for that link in the description of the video. Let's get started. First meal of the day is?
Breakfast.
Breakfast, that's right. So the first thing we're going to tell you is to ditch the boxed breakfast cereals. Now, we're not talking about this. Yes, this was in my house.
We ate this.
We got a super good deal on this. I'm not talking about the box of breakfast cereal that was on sale that you had a $2 off coupon for, that you got for $1 or $2 for a box of cereal. I'm talking about that box of cereal that's sitting on the shelf of your grocery store and it's going to cost you $6 or $7. One of the things that we did buy breakfast cereal when the boys were growing up, when we found a great deal on it, or we used Aldi breakfast cereals, which are actually pretty reasonable, I will say.
They are. Yeah.
But our boys understood that 7 breakfasts of the week, every breakfast was going to be a hot breakfast. They were able to indulge in bowls of prepackaged breakfast cereal on Sunday evenings. I didn't have to cook. They got a treat. It was a win-win. So if we didn't eat our breakfast out of a cardboard box, what did we eat?
To tell the truth, we always had hot breakfast cereal. I think we've mentioned this on previous recordings. We'll do oatmeal or cream of wheat. We used to do pancakes. We don't do that quite as much now, but oatmeal and cream of wheat are pretty much our staples.
Now stick with us, because for each point we give, I did the math for you, and I'm going to show you how the math comes out. You can make a week's worth of oatmeal and cream of wheat for a fraction of the cost that you would pay for even 2 boxes of boxed breakfast cereal. Let me show you how that works. We buy our oatmeal and our cream of wheat in bulk. Now that's our next tip, is to be able to buy things in bulk. But what difference does that really make? Here's exactly what it makes. We bought a 50-pound bag of oatmeal very recently, within the last couple of weeks, $36.50. There are 400 standard size servings in that bag of oatmeal. A standard size serving is considered to be 1/2 cup of dry oats, which equates to 1 cup of cooked oats. But what difference does that make? Well, when we do the math, we find out that it's approximately 10 cents per serving. So that means you can add yourself some fruit, which, by the way, our next tip is to set a limit as to how much you're willing to pay per pound for certain items, specifically fruits and vegetables. We have a $1 per pound goal to get our fruits under that amount. It's becoming increasingly difficult to do so. I might have to raise that goal. Next year, I might have to raise the limit a little bit. But when you find something and it's inexpensive, you can afford at 10 cents a serving to add a little bit of fruit, to even add some nuts on top, to add a drizzle of maple syrup or the sweetener of your choice. And you still have a bowl of breakfast cereal that is hearty, and you did it for 50 cents or less per serving.
For cream of wheat, we pay 69 cents a pound, and you get 32 servings per pound, and that makes it cost about 3 cents a serving. That is really cheap.
Kidding. At that price, you can afford to throw on some nuts and some raisins, drizzle maple syrup, and you're still having that bowl of cream of wheat for around 25 cents per bowl. What does this equate to? Once again, I did the math. If we rotate equally between oatmeal and cream of wheat, what that means is that we are serving our family of 4 for about $11 a week for breakfast.
That's amazing. If you don't have the time to cook in the morning to make the oatmeal, because oatmeal takes about 20 minutes.
Got a little bit of time there.
Yeah, 15 to 20 minutes. Cream of wheat is pretty quick, however, I might say that. But if you want to do an overnight deal, you can make that overnight in your refrigerator with some oats, and that is much faster.
Or you can even make granola from scratch. I did that for years. Very inexpensive. The cost of granola really comes into what you add to the granola, the nuts, the raisins, things like that. So you can control those costs as well.
One thing you want to do for sure is to wait and make sure your ingredients are on sale before you purchase them.
Here is a prime example of exactly the impact of finding items on sale can have. Our friend Julie, she makes breakfast sandwiches and burritos from scratch all the time. Because she makes her English muffins from scratch and purchases all the rest of her ingredients when she finds them at a deep discount, the cost of her breakfast sandwiches is around 15 cents per sandwich.
Wow.
I also did this math. If you go to, say, Walmart, you're going to pay about $1 per sandwich. Now, to get that same sandwich at your local Mickey D's is going to run you $3 per sandwich. So you are saving 66% of what you would pay by stopping in that drive-thru on your way to work. But think about the fact that Julie's sandwiches are 15 cents. Find your key ingredients and find them on sale.
Homemade pancakes are very inexpensive, and what we're talking about there is the homemade mix. And I'm the pancake maker. I'm the one that will actually mix them and cook them and get them all ready to eat.
I did the math for you once again. This math, by the way, is based on current prices at Aldi. So I didn't even consider that you were going to buy it in bulk. You're just going to buy it off the shelf at Aldi. If you're going to do that, then the cost per batch of pancake mix that's going to make probably 12 to 14 nice sized pancakes, $2.22. And that's 19 cents per pancake. That means if you fill your plate with 2 pancakes, that's 38 cents. Plus, once again, that inexpensive fruit that you got at your target price. You're going to put a little bit of that fruit on there, drizzle it with some syrup, and you've got breakfast once again for under $1. One of the things I want you to notice is that we often take the time to figure out the cost per recipe. Once you figure out what your target goal is, how much per person do you need to feed your family for each meal? Figure out what your target range is, and then when you figure out what it's costing you to make for each recipe, then it's easy to put maybe a few recipes in per month that are a little above your target range, but the majority of them may be at or below your target range. That in and of itself is going to make you aware of the cost of ingredients and the cost of feeding your family, and it's going to make it so it's much easier for you to drop that overall average price. We call this next one MYOM, which is make your own muffins. How many of us has walked through the bakery at a store and went, oh, look at those muffins. What does it cost to make a batch of muffins?
Now, this will depend a little bit on what you add in, but the average cost for 12 muffins is anywhere between $2 and $4 per batch.
So it just depends a little bit if I'm adding a lot of fruits or nuts or dried fruits, that's going to bring the price up. Now, in all of these calculations, guys, I tried to be very cognizant that I get my things on bulk, that I get my things on sale. I tried to do all the calculations based on just the prices you would pay off the shelf at the grocery store. At a price of between $2 and $4 per batch of muffins, that means the cost per muffin between 17 and 34 cents per muffin.
Another strategy is to use leftover ingredients.
Make a frittata. You're going to beat up a half a dozen eggs, add a little bit of milk. You're going to put it over the top of sauteed vegetables. Let it cook until it is set. Then you do the Hail Mary move. You take a plate, you put it down, you flip that pan over on top of that plate, and then you invert it so that you have your frittata with the egg side up and all those lovely vegetables on the bottom. Basically, you're making a tart, but it doesn't have any crust. This is a super great way to use up not only some leftover vegetables, but to use up some eggs, especially if you have found them on clearance. By the way, the vegan version that I have made in the past uses chickpea flour along with some other things to make sort of a batter to go over it instead of the eggs.
Before we move along to our next segment, which will be lunch, we want to take a little bit of time and talk about the partner for this video.
Mint Mobile. It is so easy for us to say nice things about Mint Mobile because we have used their service for 2 years and we have been absolutely thrilled with it.
Yeah.
Look, in case you're thinking it's going to take a long time to switch, took us 15 minutes. We used an eSIM card. We sat in our living room drinking coffee. Our boys had Mint Mobile send them a free SIM card in the mail. We manage everybody's account in one centralized hub. It's called Mint Modern Family. Anywhere from 2 to 6 people can join together as a family. But what you need to understand is Mint Mobile doesn't care if you're related by blood, if you're neighbors, if you're friends, if you go to church together. Yeah. Any 2 to 6 people can band together and form a Mint Modern Family plan. Mint's $15 a month plan has been perfect for our family, but the nice news is that right now, all of Mint's plans are $15 a month for the first 3 months for new customers. It was right around this time of the year, about 2 years ago, that Larry switched to Mint, and it was a deal very much like this. What was nice about it is it gave him 3 months to try out Mint and to really figure out which one of Mint's plans was going to work best and most effectively for our family. For all the details on this special offer, and I truly don't know how much longer Mint is going to make this offer, you can click on that QR code, which is right between us on the screen, or you can use our special link. It's mintmobile.com/under the median. You're also going to find a link for Mint Mobile all the way at the top of the description of this video. Let's move on to lunch.
Yes, let's have lunch.
All right. We're going to repurpose leftovers. One of the best things to do with leftovers is to send it with somebody for lunch the next day. Now, you don't have to send the exact dish that you made the night before. You can roll it up in a tortilla. You can put it over the top of salad greens. You can put it over the top of a baked potato or a sweet potato. You can sort of re-envision those leftovers so that everybody doesn't feel like they're eating the same thing day after day.
Over and over again. And speaking of salad greens, Hope likes to put just about anything on top of her salad. But I like to mix and match like baked potatoes and rice and different things with the toppings that we had the night before.
Now, I have to say that Larry, however, is a huge fan of when I do like our own mini salad bar. It is so easy at the beginning of the week to chop all of the ingredients that you will add to those salad greens, store them separately in the refrigerator, and then right before you go to work, it's easy to take a big bowl out, put your greens in, put some of the rest of the ingredients in, pack your salad dressing separately so nothing gets mushy by the time that you get to lunchtime. It's super easy to mix and match ingredients, and it keeps lunchtime more interesting.
You need to think outside the box when it comes to salads. Salads doesn't necessarily have to be just lettuce. There's so many things that can go into a good, healthy salad.
And of course, you can eat them separately, or you can, once again, as Larry said, I believe, throw anything you want over salad greens.
Yes. Large batches of soup or stew go such a long way, and they keep really well in the refrigerator. So you can make a batch of soup or stew, and you can eat that for a week, and it'll still be really good.
How about some soup math? Some of our favorite soups that I've made throughout the years cost between $3 and $5 to make an entire batch. Now, really, there's no excuse for not making good, hot, homemade soup because Instant Pot exists now and crock pots exist now. And when you look at the math from $3 to $5 per batch of soup, that means that you're paying anywhere from 30 to 63 cents per serving. You can even add one of those muffins we were talking about earlier. You can add that to your soup and little salad, throw anything over greens, and you're still serving your family dinner for about $1 per person.
If you do the math on this one, think about going to work and eating homemade soup that you've put together that week before or the night before. And how much would you pay for that at a restaurant? The difference is astronomical. You could save thousands of dollars over a year by taking your own lunch this way.
Now remember, as we go through, I did a post on the website that has some of these photos you're seeing. It also has the recipes linked whenever I could. Oh, and by the way, could you do us a favor? Hit that like button, that thumbs up button for us. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Homemade wraps. This is another favorite thing to do for lunch. I make my own homemade tortillas often. Now, that logic kind of falls apart when I find very large tortillas at the Amish store, a pack of 12 of them for a little over $1. I cannot make them for that amount of money. And as always, it's good to take some things into consideration. How much do you save making the version from scratch? How much time does it take you? We kind of call that the pain in the butt factor. It's like, can you fit this reasonably into your schedule? Look, I did a whole tutorial on how to make homemade tortillas from scratch. And I gave you a lot of ideas on how you can think outside the box and how to use those tortillas. I'm going to link that tutorial up above, and I'll also put it in the description of this video. But suffice it to say, my theory with tortillas runs very much, in conjunction with my salad and green theory, which is you can roll anything up in a tortilla.
You pretty much can, and it tastes good. Let's talk about dinner, the third meal of the day. And we're going to talk specifically about meatless meals.
Now, listen, I know that some of you eat meat, and you're aware that we don't eat meat. And that honestly is one of the reasons that we're able to keep our grocery budget so low. So if you are going to eat meat, I would suggest that you don't make meat the main star of the show when it comes to any meal. You can put a lot of other ingredients with it in order to stretch that meat and make it go farther. And also, you should always treat those recipes sort of suggestions instead of like something you absolutely have to go by, which means that you can put some filler ingredients in there, or you can use less meat than the recipe says. And if that works for your family, that should be fine. The other thing I think is generally more expensive when it comes to the main meal of the day, which is dinner or supper, depending on where you were raised. You got to tell me in the comments section, is it dinner or is it supper? Because I think this is purely based on where you are living or where you grew up. But I digress. The main meal of the day, the other thing that brings up that cost is a lot of dairy. Cheese is fairly expensive. So once again, think about making that cheese in the minor key.
Meal planning and batch cooking are two key ingredients to cutting your costs.
One of the things I hope you're getting from this video is how to think outside the box when it comes to planning each of your meals. But we do want you to do one thing that's super important, and that is meal plan at the first of the week. Meal planning, honestly, raise my right hand, doesn't take any more than 30 minutes a week in order to meal plan. I have never taken any longer than that. Now, I use a topical menu planner and plan all of my main dishes and then my sides, my salads, and my soups, and I figure them all separately. I know that 2 batches of soup will last us about a week, and in fact, maybe a little bit more than a week now that a couple of our boys are grown and married. That's the other thing you need to know. How long will each recipe last for your family? That is another super helpful thing to know. But as always, cutting the grocery costs does come down to how you use those ingredients that you purchase in your home, but it also has a little bit to do with what you're purchasing at the grocery store and how you're going about that. Look, you need to know how to use that sales flyer to your best advantage. Begin by looking for loss leader items.
Loss leader items are those items that are in a sales flyer that the store is offering for less than what they would make a profit off of that item. At least that's what they say. I think they are making a profit on some of them. But this is a really good price usually on each of those items. So you want to look at the front of the flyer or the back of the flyer to see those.
You're going to fill your cart mainly with loss leader items and also grocery store markdowns. If your grocery store does markdowns, you need to know where each of those areas of the store is, and you need to make sure you know what time of the day that they generally do those markdowns. Now, Kroger has a markdown section that is special called the Kroger Red Bag section. There's generally a special display in the produce department, and everything that is in a red mesh bag is 99 cents. When you combine the loss leader items, the sale items, the markdowns, and red bags, if you can get them at your grocery store, what happens is you take all of those items and you plan that weekly menu plan around those items. Now, if you're wondering exactly what that looks like when I'm able to score some great merchandise, some great products at an ultra low price, I just did a video on it where I showed you how I took $3 of red bag merchandise from Kroger, and I added about $8 of items that we had on hand. And then I made the entrees for an entire week for our family of 4. That video is right over there. That's the one you probably want to watch next. So if we didn't eat our breakfast out of a cardboard box, what did we eat?
We usually put it in a bowl.